Hello everybody, it has been done. After about a month of development, testing, and data analysis, we believe to have solved TNT Treasure for the most part. Before I start this video, I need to mention the people who have been working on this with me for the past month to get to this point. Awesome and GravityShark both created all of the data used in this video, as well as developed and tested these routes. Without them, these setups would have never been made. Now I'll quickly do a showcase, and then I'll go over some micro and which setups you should learn. So we can see from the showcase that we have two different types of setups. We have this OG aligned setup and we have this left side floor setup. So first I'll go over the left side setups. So we have two different variations of left side setups, the optimal and the universal. But before I go into that, I'll explain these decays. It is very important to be aware of these 5 decays, so much in fact that you have to patch them if you see them. If you don't patch any one of these 3 decays, then the gold fall percentage jumps from this to any one of these 3 based on which one is destroyed. I'll demonstrate with universal. I like breaking this block first, and then while I break this, I get the info of which blocks are decayed. Some people may be inclined to place the TNT immediately and then break this block, and I think this is usually fine, but if there's decays here or here, it's really bad, because if you see from over here, it's you can kind of see this decay, but this decay is a little bit difficult to see while you're coming in. Now, for universal versus optimal, the only difference is in optimal, you ignite the TNT before you start breaking these blocks, but in universal, you obviously break the block first. And you may wonder, why don't you just do this ignition also for FNS? And the reason we can't is because when you're mining this gold block, you take KB with FNS, and it's because of this really weird mechanic where the TNT is in fact player ignited, so you take KB from the player damage, which you don't get when you use a plate. So if you see, even if I'm right next to this TNT, as long as there's a block in my way, then I just don't take knockback. Now these are some other micros you should think about when doing the left side setups. If you break this and you don't see a gold, you should immediately try to break this block so that you have something to do, and it increases the odds that these 2 gold blocks break. Now if you see this gold here, you can, after you break this block, you immediately should flick up to break this, so that there's no delay between you trying to process if this is gold or not. Now I'll quickly go over OG aligned. It's important to note that you also have to worry about decays for this a little bit, notably these 2 decays. This one, I would honestly probably ignore this decay because it's pretty difficult to get this while you're doing the setup, since the first thing you do is place this. And this doesn't have nearly as much impact as any of these 3 do. After you do the setup, if you see this decay, you can just patch it after you go to mine this or whatever. This is also a bit of an aside, but I think it's good to know, and I should probably have a standalone video for this, but we've run some tests on elevator setups, and we found that it's actually really bad for losing gold, like a lot worse than we thought. So we came to the conclusion that you should just never do gold elevator, and you should do what we call, well, I guess Pavkin coined it red checking, where you mine down to this gold block first so you get the info, and then if it's not there, then you can just stay up and break this. And if it is there, then you just go to break this, and then you can break this when you fall down. So this is a small micro you should be aware of for both left side and OG aligned. More so for OG aligned though. When you go to place these two blocks, you technically don't need to place the second one. You only need this block to block pigs from going up. But you place two because sometimes this block can decay, so you're basically just pre-firing for if the block decays. This is important because you can sometimes accidentally go down this stair and then you can't place the block on top. And it's good to know that you don't have to place this if you aren't able to. Like, you don't have to backtrack when you're going here to place this block again. Now the big question is, which setup should you learn? And I have a big bias towards OG aligned because I basically developed the majority of this setup, and I think it's the easiest and most consistently fast to do out of the bunch. So there's that, but I will note the plate setup is kind of jank and definitely slower than the rest of the setups. Now, if you don't care about learning that much, then I would just always do universal probably and just not think about it. If you want to be optimal, then you would do OG aligned plus the optimal plate setup where you ignite first and then you break these. It should be noted, however, that all of these setups are about the same speed when done right. If these left side setups get decayed, then these are probably slower than the OG aligned, which is why I have a slight bias towards this. But at the end of the day, I think you should try all of them if you really care and figure out which one you think is the best for you, because it is ultimately preference. Alright, well, thank you guys for watching. It was pretty difficult to try to condense all the information that I wanted to into this video. So if any of the things I said were unclear, then please leave a comment to ask a question and I will try to respond. Goodbye.